The next speaker, the final speaker for today, is my lovely wife, Lorraine, and she's going to tell you how amazing this blessing and this drug has been to the both of us in the past year.
Wait a minute before we start. I just have to say that I would have not been able to even get this drug if it wasn't for this guy right here. Right here. He did everything when I laid in bed and couldn't do a thing. So, thank you. As he said, my name is Lorraine Heike McCartan, and I'm a HER2 stage 4 breast cancer patient. But more importantly, I'm a wife, a mother of 4, mother-in-law to 3 son-in-laws, a grandma, which they call me Mimi, to 5, with more coming, a sister to 4 brothers, sister-in-law to 21, daughter-in-law, aunt to 31 nieces and nephews, cousin to so many more, and friend. When I was diagnosed 5 years ago and 3 months today, I told the doctor I'm not a statistic, and I still feel that way today. My life has many, many parts, and cancer is only one part of me. The reason I tell you this is because it shows how one life touches so many others. When the FDA makes a decision, like this one we have been talking about, it doesn't just affect the patient, but it affects everyone who is part of their life. On September 6th of 2006, I had a biopsy done, and 1 week later, I was told that I had HER2 breast cancer, a very, very aggressive type of cancer. I had a lumpectomy, and they found that it had traveled to 9 of my lymph nodes. From that, I had to have more testing done, and they found that I had a spot on my liver. Now I was stage 4, right from the start. I had always had my mammograms. That's how fast this thing moves. I had had it just the year before. And they told me it probably started only 6 months before, and it had already gotten to my liver that fast. Again, I did not let the doctor talk to me about stages, because I told her again, I'm not a statistic, I'm an individual. Let's do what needs to be done. Honestly, if I had seen the 4 years that I was going to look at ahead of me, I probably would have given up. It is good that God only gives us one day at a time. He knows what we can handle. I never could have done it without him. I had altogether at that time 7 different chemo combos, most of which helped for about 8 months. But the toxicity of these drugs is unbelievable, what they do to your body. One worked longer, but nothing actually took the tumor in my liver away. All of these drugs, I said, had side effects, some not as bad as others, but they were awful. One drug, dicarbonzolota, which you've already heard about today, I had the most problems with. Besides having GI problems, it turns my hands and my feet orange. It split the tips of my fingers, and they would bleed. I was working part-time during all this, and the secretary at my work would put Band-Aids on each of my fingers when I got to work. And she'd leave one open so that I could use my computer, my laptop. She was an amazing help to me. At night, I had to walk around with plastic gloves to protect my hands and keep them from touching things, because they would bleed if I touched anything. I'm going to fast forward to December of 2009. My doctor spoke to me about a new drug called TDM1 for HER2 patients. It was still in the trial. She was very excited about it and was hoping it would get approved soon so it would be available when I needed it. But in April of 2010, things started to change. My liver was becoming more of a problem, and we had to switch chemos again and then again. These older style drugs had all the same side effects as the beginning drugs, and again I was going to lose my hair. So for the second time now, I think it was harder the second time than it was the first time, to be honest with you. You know, because you were there, and losing my hair. It was just horrible. And but she explained to me, you know, to think of my liver as a patch of grass, and there were weeds springing up, and these weeds would be clustering together, and those were new tumors that were forming in my liver. I also had a stent put in because my right kidney was now having trouble because it was being squeezed off. In July 2010, she had me talk to a doctor at Dana-Farber about Herceptin TDM1. They were doing the trials there and expected to open the program in September. He explained how this drug worked. His quote, "It is like a heat-seeking missile that goes directly to the cell and then blows it up." He talked for a while, and then he asked me if I had any questions. I told him I only had one question. Can I tell my kids that this is good news? And he said to me, and I quote, "You can tell them this is very, very good news." I left there encouraged, and we had a plan to start in September. August 29th, my husband's reading the paper. Not the science section or the health section, but the financial section of the paper. He sees the FDA has told Genentech no approval. They want more testing done. They wanted more patients to have exhausted all other options. What did that mean? It meant that people like myself were not going to get the drug come September because they were closing down the expanded access program that I was told that I could get into. I'd gotten my hopes up, and now they were torn away. The FDA wanted TDM1 tested against that wonderful drug, Ticarbenzolota, which I told you about. They would not give approval until that was done, and that could be all the way to 2013. I didn't have that time to wait. I needed the chance now. I needed that drug now. My husband called Genentech out in California. They confirmed that all expanded access had been closed. And then 2 days later, they called us back and said they made a mistake. And there were 13 sites open until October 31st. The closest to us was just outside of Washington, D.C. in Virginia. We called them, and we had less than a month to get accepted into this program. My doctor at NGH worked hard to get my liver counts where they needed to be for the protocol, and then I had to go 2 weeks without any chemo at all, of which I had been taking chemo every single week to keep myself under control. We got to Virginia. They also, at that time, had to put another stent in me, this time in my liver to open my bile duct because I was having all the problems with my liver. So we got to Virginia. We were accepted. They checked everything. I met protocol. My liver counts were good. And the biggie was I had exhausted all other options. Unfortunately, I had gone through all the toxic stuff that they wanted me to go through so I could get here. The thing is that they set these protocols and they never interviewed a single patient. How can you make a life and death decision for people without talking to the people who are dealing with the illness? How can you do that? There has to be that has to change. That has to change. People with the illness need to be in on the discussion, not just people sitting up in an ivory tower doing their job, making decisions here. I had my first dose of TDM1 on November 21st, 2010. At this time, I now had 7 tumors of various sizes in my liver and some spots. After 3 treatments, I was given a CAT scan, and now there were only 4 tumors they could see. Every 3 weeks, we would travel to Virginia at our own expense because they would not allow me to have treatment in Boston, even though they were just sending it from California to Virginia. They could have sent it from California to Boston, but that wouldn't have done. So we had to go to Virginia. With the help of friends and family, we've been able to make these 16 trips that we made this year. During the time, I would have CTs approximately every 2 months, and the tumors were getting smaller. In September of 2011, I was down to 1 tumor. And then in November, God gave me my early Christmas present when they told me they no longer could see the tumors or the spots. This drug works. Why are they waiting? I'm not the only person who has had this kind of result. Many others have seen significant reduction in their tumors or they're gone. We want to have this FDA investigated as to why they would make HER2 patients, especially stage 4 patients, wait to have a chance with this medicine that is made specifically for them. I have my life back right now, and I can do things I could no longer do a year ago. Both of my stents have been removed, one in February and one in April, because I don't need them any longer. I don't know, how long the treatment's going to work. I'm praying that it's forever and it gets me to the next best thing, or if that's the way it works. But one thing I do know is that my quality of life has improved 1,000%. And I am able to be the Mimi grandma I want to be. Every patient who has HER2 deserves a chance. Just give us a chance. Please just follow up with the papers that they gave you. If you don't have one, ask. With the numbers to call to get these, this FDA investigated. If you do this, you yourself personally will know that you have helped save lives. And I want to thank you again, all of you, for coming. And I want to thank
you. What do we want? Approval. When do we want it? Now! 2468. Who should we investigate? This FDA. You got it? Here we go again. Hey, hey, FDA, we're not gonna go away. Hey, 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 hey.